Okay guys, we're going to do some practice. I'm on page 16 of your packet. This is problems that have variables on both sides, the same variable on both sides of an equation. And these are great frog problems. So if you like to draw diagrams, these problems lend themselves really well to drawing diagrams because they don't have any parentheses and things that we need to deal with first. There's no distributive property. So it tends to just be a little bit more clear cut. And so let's go over a couple of these first, and then I'll do some more complicated problems. So this first problem, 3m minus 8, if I was to do that with a drawing, I could maybe draw 3 arrows, minus 8. That's a little bit trickier. Let's think about how we can 3, 4, 5, and then plus 8. And I'm just going to draw an arrow here and label it as minus 8, and we'll see whether or not this is helpful. So these are m's. And right off the bat, I see that we have 3 m's on both sides, so we can remove 3m from both sides, and we'll simplify the equation just by kind of cutting those off. So if I look at what's left, then I can write a simpler equation that negative 8 equals 2m plus 8. And from our diagram, we can definitely see that it doesn't logically make sense that 3m's minus 8 would equal 5m's plus 8. They don't look like they're going to even out, and often when our diagrams don't look right or don't look like they'll equal each other, then we have a negative value as the variable, because that's the only way to bring this line closer in line with the top equation. So let's see how this works out when we solve it. So I want to isolate the variable, which means just get it by itself. So I'm going to take this 8 away, take 8 away from both sides, and then I'll write that I still have, I'm going to draw a little arrow. If I do negative 8 minus 8, I'm going to be at negative 16 equals 2m. And so if 2m's equals negative 16, then if I divide by 2, that means 1m equals negative 8. Now, of course, I want to double check and make sure that this works, so I'm going to plug it back into the equation. 3 times negative 8, wherever I see m, I'm going to plug in negative 8. Minus 8 should equal 5 times negative 8 plus 8. So 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. Negative 24 minus 8 should equal negative 40. 5 times negative 8 plus 8. And when I simplify that, negative 24 minus 8 is negative 32. And negative 40 plus 8 is also negative 32, so that does work. Let's go ahead and try this one, 9, and I'm not going to draw a diagram this time. Negative 4g plus 12 equals g plus 2. I'm choosing this one because it's got a negative coefficient, and I think sometimes the negatives throw us off. So we just treat the coefficients like we would treat a number, and this term, negative 4g, why don't we just bring it over to the other g so that we'll have a positive g. So I'm going to undo the negative g by just adding 4g. That'll get all of my g's on the same side. So in these equations, another guiding principle is that we want to get all of our variables on one side and all of our numbers on the other side, and that way we can ultimately divide out a coefficient at the end if we want. That's usually the last step that we take. So then we're left with 12 on this side, and some people like to draw these lines down to represent equality, keeping straight that we're doing adding 4g on this side, adding 4g on this side. Left with 12 equals 5g plus 2. And then I want to get the variable alone, so I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and then I have 10 equals 5g. And I can see pretty quickly that g must equal 2, because if I divide both by 5, then I'll be left with g equal to 2. Now I can check my work. Negative 4 times 2 plus 12 should equal 2 plus 2. Oh, geez. Does that work? Oh, yeah. Negative 8 plus 12 equals 4. And that is true. 4 equals 4. Check. So that's the simpler problems on page 16. And I'm going to go to a little bit more complex problems, and I will make an answer key for page 16 so that you guys can check your answers. It should be attached to the assignment. Hopefully that helped, and I'll try to show my thinking for the answers as well so you can check your process. All right.